welcome to Books Unbound, the podcast where we unbind books to get to their hearts with your hosts, us, Ariel, Raeleen, and today, Kayley Hyde. Woo! Kayley Hyde is in the house. Actually, not in my house.
The apartment.
We're in the Halifax apartment, but we were at my house. Kayley Hyde has been visiting me for almost a week now. She got here on a Tuesday, she's leaving on a Tuesday, and today is Monday. Yeah. I think that really puts everything into context. So
our time is coming to an end.
Tomorrow is our final day, but we definitely have time to hit up one more Value Village.
Woo! So true.
Yeah, so I visited your apartment in Brooklyn,
A lot.
4 times maybe?
4 or 5.
Yeah, I've crashed at her place many times, so it seemed only fair that I allow her to come here once at least. And I forget, it was a couple months ago, but you were like, I think I could actually come out this summer. And I was like, okay, amazing. Let me know what dates might work. You pitched a couple dates. I was like, I think all of those work. And then you just messaged me a couple days later and you were like, I bought these flights.
I did the thing.
And I was like, it's happening.
It's happening.
So Kayley is here. Now there's multiple Kayley, Ariel, Raeleen connections that we will try and remember them, but they're old. We've all known each other. We're all old. It's old news. Yeah, we've known each other. We've all known each other for like over a decade, in and out on the internet. Yeah. So, but okay. So first of all, we met on the internet.
On the internet.
Kayley used to make YouTube videos.
I sure did.
OG YouTuber.
And I used to watch them.
Yes. And Raeleen used to watch them, and I used to watch them. You were definitely, like, when I discovered book YouTube, you weren't, like, a book YouTuber, but you were kind of associated act.
Yeah.
You were, like, definitely in the sphere. And so that's
I feel like
how...
niches weren't as much of a thing on YouTube back in the day.
100%.
Like,
yeah. There wasn't...
Whatever you're feeling that day.
Yeah. There wasn't enough people really even to have niches. But yeah, when I found your channel, I definitely was like, okay, this is awesome. You also just, at the time, your hair looked more like mine does now. You had like burgundy hair and everything. And we were talking about this beforehand. We met at a VidCon once, right, Raeleen?
Yes, that's the one and only time I think I've met you in person. But
which is wild, because we live objectively, like, we lived
that's
not far
true.
from one another.
Yeah.
So
Kayley
close yet
grew
so
up
far.
in Seattle, so right below Raeleen in British Columbia land. Do you, Raeleen, putting you on the spot, do you remember anything about meeting Kayley Hyde the first time?
Not really. I just remember that we met, and it was kind of like, oh wow, nice to finally meet you, because you were kind of like this cool person that I had like, looked up to and watched before I really like started making videos. So I was like, oh, like half fangirl, half like, okay, bye.
Okay, that was more than enough. Bye.
And I'm out.
One
That's
of those,
so funny. But then the other important reason that we have Kayley on the pod is because Kayley runs our Instagram.
I do.
You've been running it for years.
Almost 4 years.
Oh my god.
That's
4 years in November.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Isn't it?
It's actually hilarious. It is. Because Raeleen and I ran it for like the first 6 months-ish of the podcast. Maybe a year. I mean, I guess it was a year.
Yeah, I think it was a year.
Because we're about to reach 5 years of the podcast. Wow. But one of the first things we wanted to do once we had the funds was hire someone to run the Instagram for us. Partly because you'll do a better job than we'll ever do, but also because we find it really stressful and we're not good at it. So we were like, let's find someone. And you work in social media largely. Also, this is cool. You work in climate.
I do. I work in climate politics. Which
sounds scary.
Which is thrilling. Yeah, well, when I started, I was working like freelance and just needed another job. Now I like don't really need another job.
I know, but you can't
I work
quit.
a lot, but I really can't quit.
You can't quit. I wouldn't allow
part
it.
of my personality now. Yeah, I
just can't allow it.
It's very important to me to spend my hour and a half a week with you.
Yeah, exactly.
And I guess I could do that if I didn't work for you, but it wouldn't be the same.
No. So your duties as social media manager are to listen to the episode and then just post all the photos we send you.
Yep.
It's working pretty well.
It's a simple
life. Yeah, it is a simple gig. But what's so funny, Raeleen, when I was talking to CJ, who obviously you guys know edits the podcast, I was like, Kaylee's coming. And he was like, I'm so excited to meet her. It's the other Books Unbound employee. And I was like, that's so funny. I didn't even think about that. And then we were at lunch, and I forget if it was you or CJ, but one of you was like, it's a pretty tough company to work for, isn't it? And then I was like, what? And they're like, no, this is the easiest part of our month. And I'm like, oh, good, okay.
It's pretty simple. It's pretty
so
chill.
Funny. Yeah.
And sometimes I talk to the listeners in the DMs.
Well, I was going to say, you're an important part of the pod, because if anyone's ever messaged us on Instagram and gotten a reply or a response or any form of acknowledgement, that was Kayley Hyde.
Yeah. Or sometimes it's one of you, but like I tell you the message came in.
Yes, like you'll message us and be like, you need to respond to this one. And we're like, oh my god, we do need, that's awesome, or whatever it is, or that's so cute or beautiful or whatever it is. But all lines lead through Kayley Hyde.
And actually later we're going to do a book haul, and I bought a book that everyone has been recommending to me through Kayley. So I feel like we've come full circle here.
That's perfect. Okay, well, we should maybe begin with a little look at what we've gotten up to in the last little bit. Okay, Raeleen, how about you tell us what you've been up to? Because I hear you had a wild weekend.
I wouldn't say wild, just busy.
Eventful.
You said eventful.
Eventful, yeah. I did a lot of things on Saturday. So Kyle and I, for the past few weeks, have been thinking about going out to Vancouver, doing like a big day trip. And because there was a few restaurants we wanted to go to, a few different like shops we wanted to visit that it's been a while since we went there. And so I was like, let's do it. And so we went out on Saturday. It was really hot that day. It was like 32 degrees or something. It's starting to really ramp up over here in BC. Yikes. It was kind of like, it's been cold and rainy for the past few weeks, but all of a sudden it's like, boom, sun, it's hitting, summer is here. So of course that was the day we decided to go walk around a city instead of going to a lake or something, which felt weird, but it was okay. It ended up being a nice day. So we started off our day by, once we got to Vancouver, we went and got lunch, and we were like, okay, now we're ready to go walk a lot. And so we specifically went to Vancouver because we wanted to walk this like 10K loop around Stanley Park, which is a big park in the middle of downtown Vancouver, and there's like a seawall walk that's really, really nice. You're walking right next to the ocean. You get to walk through, there's like a water park, there's a swimming pool at one part, there's multiple beaches, there's just like nice views of the city and everything. So I had never done it before, so we did that, which was really nice. I've got a couple of nice blisters on my feet to show for it now.
But it happened.
Yeah, these things happen, but it was really nice. So I do highly recommend that for anyone who's in the Vancouver area if you've never done it. But then after that, we were like, okay, now it's time to wind down, kind of chill out the day, come to do what I really came to Vancouver to do, which was to go to my favorite bookstore. Massey Books in Vancouver is my favorite. I love that store. I feel like a lot of the books they order for their stock are just like meant for me. Like I feel like this store really understands me, like caters to me a lot. They have a huge short story collection. They've got a lot of great Japanese translated fiction, all that good stuff. So I really love going there, and I found 3 books, which we'll talk about later, but I did buy some books. Awesome. And the other thing that was fun about going to the bookstore is that right next to it, there's like a tea shop, and they were doing an iced tea like thing. And so we had some iced tea. After we went book shopping, there's a ramen store right next to the tea shop. So all 3 in a row are these 3 wonderful things. Wow. And so we were like, let's just do all of them. So after we were done book shopping, we went and got ramen. And then we drove home, and it was, it was great. So it was just like a busy day. And then I spent all of Sunday just laying around reading, basically doing nothing. I was like, I can't move, because it was also really, really hot yesterday. Like, same thing. We went out for a little bit to go get a coffee, and I was like, no, I don't want to be out here anymore.
We were just out on the waterfront, which I've taken you to. And Kayley, we sat down, and Kayley was like, I hate summer.
It's the worst. I hate it too.
I just have nothing but a bad time.
Yeah.
It's too much.
It's not that hot here today. It's like 22. The humidity is high because it just rained, and it's about to rain or whatever, so it's a little humid, but Kayley was looking at the humidity level.
I was thinking of back home.
In New York. And so she looked at that's why she said she hated summer, because she looked at what New York's weather is like right now.
What I'm returning to.
It's like 33 to 35 all week long. And they don't get like the ocean breeze that we get, and they don't get the like Chinook stuff that you guys get off of the mountains that cools things down. Like, it's just...
Yeah. It's just a hot pocket. I always say I feel like I'm in someone's mouth.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what New York in the summertime feels like. It's real rough.
Yucky.
Yeah.
And it's only getting hotter.
Woo!
Yeah.
I'm born and raised in Seattle, so not used to it. And I've been in New York like 6-7 years, and I'm still like, this is maybe the bad place.
Yeah. That's really funny.
Potentially be the bad place.
Okay, what have we been up to, Kayley Hyde? Maybe pick out a couple of highlights from the trip.
Wales.
Yeah, let's talk about Wales. We went to Briar Island, which is apparently the premier place for whale watching. And I say apparently because everyone I mentioned, and I mean everyone, because I just tell everyone everything.
I really do.
Mm-hmm. Everyone I talk to, because people, like you go into a shop, and people are like, how's your day going? I'm like, great, we went whale watching. Yeah. And they're like, where'd you go? Did you go to Briar Island? That's the question. Everyone asks.
Yep.
They know.
Did you go to Briar Island? Because apparently that's the one. And so I took it seriously. But then also
everyone's like, you're really lucky you saw them because not a lot of people see them.
Oh.
Yes.
So it's the place, but only sometimes.
Yeah, apparently it's still luck-oriented. But we saw 5 whales.
Oh my gosh.
Humpbacks.
I feel like that seems like a lot. I don't know.
Felt good.
It felt good. And okay, so it was, it was a drive out, and you have to like go on 2 ferries. You have to go on a ferry to get to Long Island, drive through Long Island, get on another ferry to Briar Island. So it's like a 2-ferry affair. And that sounds like the name of a romance,
yeah, it
right?
does.
The 2-ferry affair.
Yeah.
Which ferryman will she fall in love with?
I was thinking like fairies, like Tinkerbell.
Like fairies.
That too.
That too. But we got to Briar Island, and it was actually really funny because they said to us, like, make sure you leave at this time from your house so that you get to this time. Like, basically, we ended up getting there 2 hours early.
Nice.
And we're like, okay, well, maybe there'll be stuff to do on the island.
Not a thing.
Not a thing to do.
Single thing.
It's a tiny island.
They don't even have vegetables.
Yeah, this really scared Kayley Hyde.
Not even one?
Well, no. We went into the general store, which is also
the only store.
The only store on the island. And it was the grocery store, right? It's got some groceries, but not fresh produce, because how can you get fresh produce to an island every day? It wouldn't work. But Kayley was like, I don't get it. Where's the grocery store? I was like, that's it, baby. Like, there's nothing else. And you were, like, so concerned.
It's like they're gonna get scurvy.
Yeah. She's worried they're gonna get sick.
I just eat a lot of vegetables. I love
a lot of vegetables.
That's funny. Ariel, you and I have been to an island where they had no store at all. It was that small of an island. So
the one that
but do people live there?
Yeah.
Yep, we went there so that I could maybe buy a house on that island.
No,
I
remember this
You get there by boat,
cool
and
house.
There's nothing on the island but houses.
Yeah.
I just, I need a vegetable.
Just one. Yeah. Just one or two.
Just at least one variety.
Yeah, that would really stress me out, not knowing the next time I could get to a vegetable.
Well, I was like, they just take the ferry to Long Island. Like, I bet you there's a grocery store there, and...
What if you're just, tired, you're sick, you got a little cold?
Yeah.
I don't want to take a ferry to get to my vegetables.
It's clearly not the life.
And I was looking around, and I was like, maybe they're gardeners. No, not that many gardens.
We were on the boat, and Kayley brought it up again, and so I was like, let's just ask the girls here, because there were these 2 girls on the boat. They were really cool. They were students that are at Dalhousie studying marine biology, and they're doing co-op programs as part of their degrees.
Okay.
And so they go and work on the whale ships, which is so cool. Yeah. Because the whale tour that we did also does a lot of science stuff. Like, they collect data about the whales and things. So I just asked one of the girls, I was like, my friend here is really worried about your vegetable scene. How do you get vegetables? She's like, oh no, it's just because you came late in the week. Like, in the beginning of the week, there's a couple.
We were a couple.
Oh my god.
We were get a shipment in on Tuesdays or something.
Yeah.
And by the end of the week, they're gone.
She was like, every few weeks we just go to Digby and we have to really stock up. And I was like,
but you can't stock up on fresh vegetables.
Yeah.
I mean, some of you can, and some,
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's a different way.
They're fine. They seemed fine.
Let me tell you, Kayley's not moving to Briar Island anytime soon.
It's not the life.
But
really.
Eventually, we got on the boat, and my massive fear, and I didn't really emphasize this at all to Kayley beforehand.
I got the vibe.
You got the vibe, but I didn't, like, I said it to you as we were basically getting on the boat. I was like, okay, I need you to understand that there's a large possibility that I am going to be extremely motion sick on this boat.
Yep.
I'm going to go and sit in a corner. Forget me.
Yeah.
Abandon me. Pretend
Don't
I'm
need
not
to
on
share
the boat.
more than that.
Yeah, I'm just like, it's. I want you to have fun. It's okay if I don't have fun, because I'm a very motion sick person, and I just, like, the last time I was in a boat, I was 12.
It was bad news.
It was bad news. Like, well, I threw up, but then I mainly just, like, was nauseous. Like, I just sat there, like, oh, the whole time. Raeleen, I took Gravol.
This is an endorsement for Gravol.
Yeah, please sponsor us.
This is Dramamine of Canada.
Yes.
For my American listeners.
I took Gravol, and it worked so well that I felt, like, giddy. I was, like, giggling, laughing the entire time.
She ate all my snacks.
I ate all of Kaylee's food. I was like, I'm eating. I'm hungry.
It makes you want to go live on a boat.
Yeah, I was like, I get it. Boats are awesome. And yeah, it was amazing. I had such a great time. I was about to say I had a whale of a time. I did.
Whale.
I had a whale
What do
of
we
a
have
time.
here?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was really cool. And it was amazing to see the whales, obviously. Like, when they do their spouting thing, like, they breathe and they shoot water up. So cool.
It's wild. We
awesome.
saw one, like, eat, like, come up to get food and go back. Saw some tail.
We saw classic tail action.
Ooh,
Yeah.
some tail.
It felt like seeing celebrities.
Yeah.
Like, every time one came out, you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, I am a little upset because there have apparently been 2 blue whale sightings over the last couple months, which is
Apparently very rare.
Okay.
Largest mammals in the world?
Yeah, I think
Largest
so.
animal? Just mammal? I don't know.
Yeah.
But that would have been incredible. I would have had a little sob.
Yeah, that would have been crazy.
But I did tear up.
It was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was pretty
I
amazing.
love whales.
So that was really fun. Okay, what's another highlight?
I mean, the book truck.
Book truck. Let's do a tiny book truck.
Also, just
update.
seeing your house. I was like,
Isn't that so
real.
fun? The first time I saw Ariel's house, well, the only time I've
wonderful.
walked into it, it was just like, oh my gosh, I'm finally here.
yeah. I'd also never met Connor or your mom or
Oh,
CJ.
yeah.
It was like, I just feel like the characters are real now.
Yeah, I love that. I love like actually being able to imagine my friends in their actual settings, and now I get the geography and the characters.
Yeah, when I say I'm crying in my bed, you can visualize what that looks like.
Yeah,
you know?
yes, I
Yeah.
can picture it very vividly in my mind. In fact,
Been
I have
there.
seen that.
Seen that.
yeah. But I had so much fun with the book truck. We did Petite Queer Pride, which was a rural Nova Scotia Pride festival.
Not just for small queers.
No, not petite queers, which apparently
Someone asked, I was like, yeah, it's called Petite Queer Festival or whatever, and they were like, wait, just what about the big queers?
What about big queers? And we're
I was like, you're
wait.
so right.
There's a community there called Petite Rivière or Rivière or something like that, and I think that's where they did the first one or
So
something.
it's just, it's a small festival.
It is a little festival.
Yeah.
A little
But
festival.
anyways, I asked Kayley before she came to visit, like, could you send me some queer books that you really like so that we can both have, like, titles to sell on the truck? And you sent me some, and I ordered them, and thankfully they arrived on time, and we had them on the truck. It was so beautiful. It was such a beautiful event. Again, it just felt so special to, like, offer books in a community that doesn't have books there. There's no
Yeah, that's the
bookshop
best.
around there. So it was so cool to just be in the middle of nowhere selling books off a tiny truck. And, we sold lots of books. We sold lots of t-shirts, which was really nice, and hats, and a couple
Chickens.
of mugs, and also some chickens. So we should talk about the chickens.
Tell us about the chickens.
Introducing Betty's Beaks and Books, this premium chicken. So, okay. For Christmas, last Christmas, a couple months ago, my mom made my dad a chicken.
I should also just...
Carmilla.
Oh,
Yes, the shirt and everything. My mom made my dad a chicken named Carmilla that looks very similar to this beautiful, beautiful chicken. And I was like, that is one of the nicest things I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
Could you please make some chickens for the truck? I was like, people will love these chickens. And Mama was like, I don't really get it. Like, what do chickens have to do with the truck? And I was like, you're right. nothing.
Just trust.
But I just know that people will love them, and like they're just so beautiful. Like she's just made them so beautifully.
And
so
does he have a little
like,
satchel as well?
Well, so this is the thing. So she made 15 chickens. It took her, weeks. She made, or like, she said she did it in 8 days. She made 15 chickens, and when she was finished with them, she's like, look, I made them each a satchel, and in the satchel, each one has a custom sewn book.
Yeah, it does.
What?
With pages.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
I know. It's like, it's unbelievable.
It's so
They're
cute.
so beautiful. And the joy that these chickens bring to the people that visit the truck.
Yeah.
Though and Kayley. So Kayley chose this one out.
Yeah. I literally walked into Ariel's office for the first time, and there was a basket full of chickens, and I was like,
Who are
tell
they?
me more.
Yeah, Kayley was like, what are these? And I explained, and she was like, can I buy this one? And I'm like, yes. Yeah, absolutely.
It's my new best friend. Oh, also the sweetest thing is that her dad did the little tags on them.
Of course.
And it just lists, the feather features is what it says, the features of the chicken. My favorite is great listeners.
Aww.
Extra absorbent, in parentheses, for tears.
Oh.
Yeah, these are highly educated chickens.
It says that. Highly educated chickens.
Well, of course.
Quiet reading companions.
Yeah. They can do it all.
It's just...
It's incredible.
It says low maintenance chickens.
Yeah, you don't even have to grab their eggs.
You don't gotta go get their eggs.
They're so beautiful. So it's just been really nice to see the people who buy the chickens too. Like I have this really distinct memory of at the first event, there was a mom who came up with her literal baby just like sitting on her hip, and the mom was looking at all the books, and the baby just reached out and grabbed a chicken and yanked it up, and the mom was like, "Do you like that chicken?" And then the baby just bit it.
Of course it likes
It
that
just
chicken.
chomped the chicken's, like, I forget what this part is called, but the red bit. And she was like, we will buy you that chicken.
Aw, that's so cute.
Yeah, it was just so sweet. And it's just been lots of happy people. And, like, at this rural event, lots of people own chickens. And so there was a person there who was like, I'm buying this for Franny. And I was like, who's Franny? And she was like,
chicken.
she owns chickens. And I was like, like, that's so nice. So... yeah, so we got chickens, and I gave you a t-shirt, because anyone who's helping me on the truck gets a t-shirt. These are not available online. I probably should make them.
I love that. It's like
it's
a Bissett Books employee shirt.
It's an employee shirt. And it says I'm thinking about books.
I can't
on
wait
the
to
back.
get one of those. That's awesome.
Yep. I have one saved for you.
Good.
Yeah, but we've been bopping. The other big thing we've been doing is thrifting.
Yeah,
for sure.
A lot of
Ooh, any good
A lot
finds?
of thrifting and antiques. Oh my, really?
Boy, have there been.
I bought a giant tin vintage garbage can.
That was great.
Things have got so well for us,
Yeah.
thrifting wise. We've just been picking up all sorts of goodies, and
A brass bathtub, little guy.
a tiny
Ooh.
brass bathtub I bought, and paintings. I got this really cool illustration of a ship.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
That's always good.
Yeah,
It's been
some
great.
really nice stuff. Kayley Hyde bought a cauldron.
I sure did. You know,
Jealous.
when
Inspiration strikes.
inspiration strikes, so
I'd
you
buy
see
a
a
cauldron,
cauldron
too.
that's $2.
How big
is
buy
the
a
cauldron?
It's big.
I was imagining
not
like a
small.
little itty bitty one. That's so cool.
No, it's big. It's brass. And
Brass and
did you
copper.
say you wanted to use it as a pot?
Probably.
For a
as I
plant?
do with most things.
For a plant.
Put a plant in it.
Yeah.
I think it'd be cool as like a little herb garden.
Yeah, that'd be beautiful.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that would be beautiful.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Also got a lot of vintage gardening books.
yeah, gardening books. I was gonna
Ooh.
say also a lot of tins.
Oh yeah.
Collectively, a lot of
big
vessels.
tin gals.
Apparently, we love to put stuff into other stuff because, just so many tins. You've bought multiple pitchers,
Canisters.
That's the word. I bought a vase, a lot of vessels.
Yeah,
Love
that
a
makes
vessel.
sense to me. That
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's been great. Well, maybe we should shift over to our little guest questionnaire. These are the questions we ask all of our guests to get to know them as readers.
Yep.
You are a reader? Here we go! Question number 1. Favorite book. Brackets, books.
It's gonna be books. You know, it's not just a
Could
singular.
there ever just be one?
No, not for I. Not for I. I wrote a few down. I think one that has been over the last few years a favorite that I talk about a lot is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern.
Mm-hmm.
I love it so much.
Do you love it way more than The Night Circus?
Yes.
Oh, interesting. Because I've read The Night Circus and I really loved it, but I haven't read The Starless Sea.
Yeah, no, I love Starless Sea. I've read it like 6 times.
Whoa.
I think it's just so... It's like that purple prose that I love. It's just so whimsical. For no good reason, you know? Yeah. I love whimsy for no good reason.
Unnecessary whimsy. Yeah. Which maybe is part of the definition of whimsy. It feels like part of it, right? Like it's like
I don't know.
extra.
I think sometimes whimsy's real necessary.
Yeah, true.
But that's one of them. I have a few others here. One that I've read that I talk about a lot over the past couple of years is The Archive of Alternate Endings by Lindsay Drager. And this is one of the books I recommended for the truck but didn't come in time.
It didn't. Apparently it was on back order.
It's too bad.
Yeah. It's okay. It will arrive and I'll just sell it anyways.
So this is the thing, though, is you gotta read it, because it's kind of hard to sell.
Okay.
It's just hard to explain. Basically, it's told through a series of vignettes, all set when Halley's Comet passes.
Ooh,
so cool.
That's cool.
And so there's, like, a lot of different versions of the story. There's also, like, a Hansel and Gretel thing going on. One of the times Halley's Comet passed was during the AIDS crisis, so there's, like, some delving into that a bit. Just lots of, like, interesting stories, and they all like kind of weave together in cool ways, and it's beautiful. I love a interwoven story in that way. I love books about books. Yeah, interwoven story. I love that kind of thing.
Awesome.
So, those are probably my top 2 of the moment. I also wrote down Blueberries by Elena Savage, which is a nonfiction. It's a series of essays. Yeah. And I just think they're so, like, of the moment. Also, it has the most beautiful cover.
Whenever I see that book, I think of you, because I remember when you read it, and I'm just like, that just sticks out to me as a Kaylee book, so it's cool to hear that's one of your favorites.
It's so beautiful. Yeah. No, I really, really love it. And she's, I think she's Australian, but she lives in, I believe, Greece. Okay. But just lots of different essays about different things, like gentrification, about a sexual assault that she experienced, and like her coming to terms with what happened. And just like different ones throughout that are just beautiful. That's beautifully written.
Good. Amazing.
Yeah. I feel like next year could be a year of essay collections for me.
I love an essay collection.
I think that could be really fun.
Yeah. I don't read a lot of short stories. I'm bad at short stories, but I love an essay collection.
Raeleen, you like both, right?
I really
stories
do.
And essays.
Yeah. I like both. But they have to be like all written by the same author. I'm not into anthologies as much, but
yeah. You know? How do you feel about anthologies?
I don't think I've read that many.
Yeah, they don't appeal to me.
I've read anthologies of essays.
Right. Okay.
Which I like.
Yeah, that can be.
I think I just haven't read a lot of short stories, so I don't have much to go off there. It's kind of like I also don't like short form video content. I'm like, I want to get in it. I want to get stuck in. Yeah, you know?
That makes sense.
No, I do. Yeah, we do know. Yeah, I do. We do know.
So maybe you need to get into short
like 15
stories
pages
that are long,
and then it's done.
Long short stories.
Yeah, like 40 long.
Like maybe
40
novels.
pages.
Yeah, perhaps some might say.
Novellas. Probably true.
Yeah.
All right. Our next question for you is favorite author or authors. Because it is very interesting how oftentimes this does not align with favorite books. Yeah.
I feel like that's normally the case with me.
Yeah.
I have Lindsay Drager. I have read a few books by her, who wrote The Archive of Alternate Endings, and I do really like everything she's written. Okay. So I think she's probably a favorite author or moving that way. Another one I love is Mbolo Mabue, who wrote, what's it called? Behold the Dreamers?
Yeah. Okay. I was just thinking, I'm like, I think I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, and she also wrote We Were Beautiful, something like that. Oh God, embarrassing. But I just love the way she writes. Really, really amazing. And I also recently have gotten into, again, some more like nonfiction essayists. One of them is Mark Hammer, who writes a lot about gardening.
Oh, nice.
He also wrote a book called How to Catch a Mole, because he was a mole catcher for most of his career.
What is a mole catcher?
Catches moles, Ariel.
Why? For what?
Because they're not good for the people's grass.
They tear it up. I actually know someone IRL who did that as a job too.
Oh. Yeah. Wow.
Mole catcher.
Yeah, it's called How to Catch a Mole, but it's also just a reflection on like his life.
That sounds amazing.
It's wonderful.
I love a book about a weird job.
Thing,
That's true.
A weird job.
That's how I got into him. That was the first I saw that. I was like, I don't know anything about moles. I don't know anything about mole catching.
That sounds so good. I saw a book. I took a photo of it. Actually, I want to talk about that for 1 minute. I took a photo of this book that sounded really good. we were in some shop and I had already bought a book and I was like, I'll just take a photo of this one. But it was also about someone who gets like a weird job. And I was like, that is such a good niche to me. But the little tangent I wanted to take was somebody came up to the truck. Well, you weren't there. You had gone to, I think, to get rocks. Kayley, genius, went to because we were like right on the water really in this event. She went and got some rocks from the water, like near the water. They weren't wet. Got some rocks so that we could weigh the books down because it was a windy day.
Nice.
And it looked so beautiful to have the rocks down. I'm definitely going to keep those. But no, somebody came up to the truck and I was talking to them so much, like trying to sell them this book. I keep saying to people, I'm like, I'm not going to pressure you. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Like, but they were asking me questions and we had a whole conversation about a book. And oh my God, she said, that sounds so good. And I was like, she's buying it. And she's like, I'll take a photo of it. She took a photo of it. She's like, I'll buy it later. And then put it down and left. And I was like, oh my God, she's gonna order it online. And it completely it was such a fascinating moment because I have done that in bookshops all the time where I go in and I don't want to buy a book, so I just take a photo of it.
A little.
But I just realized
feelings.
I just realized what that's like on the other end of the bookshop, being like, wait,
like as a small business owner, it's like, oh, that's a
book. If it's like Barnes and Nobles or Chapters or some Waterstones, I'm not going to feel bad because it's a giant corporation and they probably make most of their money through online orders. Yeah. But like a tiny bookshop, I'm like, no, if I don't want to buy it from them, I shouldn't buy it. Like, I should just buy, if I really want a book for... Anyways, it was a fascinating moment.
She just paid rent.
Maybe, yeah, no.
She's gotta hold out.
I really had no judgment towards her. I don't even remember what she looked like. I just remembered the moment where I was like, whoa. I've never done that book. I've never had that be on the other side of it. Fascinating. Yeah. Anyways, that made me think of that. Go on.
Two other favorite authors I have are Olivia Lang and Naomi Klein, who are both like essayists who talk a lot about things that I really enjoy or really enjoy reading about, like climate or art or politics. Naomi Klein is a journalist who writes a lot about politics. So they're people who, like, if they have an essay or a collection or something coming out, I'm always paying attention.
Right.
Yeah. So those are some favorite authors.
There's a lot of essayists on there.
Yeah. I've kind of gotten into it more. I also feel like as an adult, I don't have as much, like, this is my favorite person forever, like, auto-buy author, as the kids used to say, kind of thing. Like, I don't think I have that as much, because my time is more limited, so I'm like, who are people who I know are going to reel me in?
Deliver. Yeah.
So.
All right. So, I was thinking, I think my favorite essayist is George Orwell. I was like, who have I actually read the most essays by? It's Orwell. Yeah, that does track.
That makes a lot of sense.
Okay, let's move to our next little question here. Oh, yeah. I feel like we can guess, but maybe not. Favorite genre or if it's different, the genre you read the most.
Yeah. I'd say fiction is just like literary fiction, queer fiction. It's probably what I read the most of. But then also a genre that I read a ton is climate change nonfiction.
Right.
Because I work in that space, so I like to know what the vibes are.
Yeah.
And also gardening nonfiction.
Yeah.
I've read a lot of garden books this year.
That's so nice.
I've also gotten very into, like, fiction that takes place in gardens.
Oh!
Which often is, like, historical fiction, which I never used to really read, but there's just something about it. Like, you're just reading about a story, and then they talk about, like, their bulbs or their veggie gardens. I'm like, oh, yeah, all in. It's just sweet.
Do you have a top rec for a gardening book? If people are listening to this and they're like, wow, I've never read a gardening book.
I mean, Mark Hammer's stuff is really great.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Or Hamer, it's 1M. His, like, gardening nonfiction is really, really good. It's just about, like, he's just this old man who loves his little gardens.
Did you see that movie that's set in a garden? What else can I tell you about it? It has Moriarty in it, the priest from Fleabag.
Andrew Scott?
Andrew Scott's in it. And Sybil in Downton Abbey was in it. Did you ever watch Downton Abbey?
No.
Anyone out here? Oh wait, it's just us three.
And you know I haven't seen that.
I know that there's like...
I don't think I've seen this film, though.
There's hundreds of people right now who are like,
screaming.
It's this! Who are listening to this episode right now. Hold on.
I don't think I have.
Andrew Scott. What was his... Oh, boy.
Have you watched All of Us Strangers, by the way?
Have you seen that, Raeleen?
No, I've been dying to watch it, though. It's high on my list.
Value your tear ducts? Oh
my
God, I just remembered another author I love.
Oh, good.
Caleb Azuma Nelson. He wrote Open Water.
Oh.
And Small Worlds.
Oh, yes, you point out Open Water every time.
Open Water is one of my favorite books, I'd say. I can't believe I forgot that. It's a beautiful book set in London about, like, two artists who are just kind of, like, they're in love, but they're kind of going through a lot of different things, and the writing is just,
I remember that book was big online a couple years ago.
It's incredible. And I'm excited to see what else he writes.
I found the movie. It's called This Beautiful Fantastic.
Nope.
You see why I forgot the title.
That's really
That's
big.
Not a great title.
It also doesn't mention a garden.
I already forgot it.
So basically, a woman moves into an apartment block, I think in London, and like they share a courtyard garden, and everyone in the building starts like working on it. Yeah.
Aww.
You would love this movie.
That sounds
there was a book recently at one of the bookshops we were looking at that was about a community garden in London as well.
Oh.
Yeah. Maybe my
little
next
theme.
Yeah, gotta put a pin in that. Because I love reading about gardens. I have Googled, like, fiction books set in garden so many times.
Yeah.
And it's hard to find, though, because there's so many books that have, like, flower or garden in the title, but actually have nothing to do with flowers or gardens. And that's upsetting. It's very troubling.
Very difficult for the gardening community, really. Actually, speaking of gardening, what's your garden situation over there, Ray? Do you have any form of garden? Have you planted any flowers or anything outside?
Well, let me tell you. We do exactly, throwback. So we do have a garden, but when we moved in, firstly, when we moved in, it was winter, so we had no idea what was going on, but then in the spring, things started sprouting out, and it turns out we had a crazy garden full of crazy things. Like, we don't know what most of the plants are, but they're just, like, wild and overgrown. Like, some of the plants have kind of, like, spread from one patch of dirt onto the other side of the yard, like, place it. It doesn't make any sense. It's like, it's really, really hectic. And so what we've decided is we want to kind of, like, gut it and just plant our own garden, but we're still in the process of trying to, like, get everything out, because things are really...
Before you do that...
Yeah.
I would say one thing that I read is that you're supposed to live somewhere a full calendar year so that you can
We've been here 2 years.
Yeah, but, like, have you taken note of what's in the garden every season?
Yeah, it all blooms in the spring, pretty much. Like, everything is kind of the same.
Yeah, because sometimes, like, you'll end up pulling out stuff that's actually really, really cool.
It was like a pumpkin.
Like,
Secret pumpkin.
Yeah. Some things are also biannual.
My God.
So they come out every other year.
Stuff that plant every other year.
Yeah, that's true. No, everything... we've been here 2 years now, so we've seen the same cycle happen. And we're like... Yeah. The only thing that we like in the garden is there's a couple of, like, tiger lilies. Is that what the orange ones are called?
Nice.
And those are our favorite, but everything else we're like, I don't need that. I don't want that.
Yeah. One thing that Kayley has taught me is of using the, like, iPhones. Now if you take a photo and you scroll up, it says look up plant.
Ooh.
And you can, like, it recognizes the plants that you are taking photos of.
Yeah.
If you click the button, it, like, Googles it for you, or whatever the equivalent of Apple's Siri search is. And it will tell you what kind of plant you have. Nice. So that's been really, really cool if anyone has an iPhone and wants to, like, know more about the plants around you. Because now I've been snapping photos of everything.
Yeah, because there are a lot of apps that do it too, but sometimes it's nice to just have it on your...
Yeah, you don't have to, like, open a whole different app.
Yeah.
Well, one of my favorite things that we've done together is that we went to a garden center, and Kayley was like, you need that, and she was like, can I just plant you a garden? I was like, okay. So I bought a bunch of plants, like, together we picked them out, but I bought them and then we brought them home, and then Kayley planted them, so now I have a nice little garden plot. I know.
Wow. Yeah. I'm jealous.
Just beautiful.
I love gardening, y'all.
All right, next question is, what is your favorite bookshop? I'm ready.
The panic.
Yeah, I don't know. I, like, wrote down a few here. I feel like I have ones that every time I'm in a city, I want to go to that one. So one is, like, my hometown bookshop. Well, I have two hometown bookshops, but, like, the one I always go back to is called Third Place Books in Lake Forest Park, Washington.
Nice.
And it's really big, and it's you can bring used books, they'll buy them, and also new books, and I just feel like I always find something there. They also have a really big, like, nature and gardening section. huge fiction section. It's a good time. Yeah. But then I live in Brooklyn, New York, and I have a couple favorites there. I think McNally Seaport, that's your favorite, right?
It was my top pick until you took me to Center for Fiction.
Okay, so I have both of those on my list.
Yeah, so I think Seaport McNally is the best bookstore in New York.
It's most beautiful.
And then Center for Fiction is the best bookshop in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
That's how I've decided to mark it, because
that makes
technically
sense.
they're apart. But.
Yeah. And Center for Fiction, it's like not even that vast, but I always find something new.
It's one of those things where just the curation is next level, and the space is so cool,
it's cool space.
that it's like fun. It's just a fun ambiance.
Yeah, it's a more modern space to Seaport's like.
Seaport is like in an old Raeleen. It looks like it's a converted old factory, like it's brick. Sweet. Yeah. And so it's like clearly things used to be and different.
It's on a pier, like it's Seaport down by the water.
Nice. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'll take you one day, Raeleen.
Please,
we'll go.
Please.
Yeah. Those are my favorites. I also love the Stoke Newington bookshop in London.
Oh,
I don't know if you've been.
No.
It's another one that's like not. It's not like anything particularly special, but I always find something.
Yeah.
So.
Are you a foils girly?
Oh, I love foils too.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
But I don't love that they sold to Waterstones.
They got sold, they got bought.
But I always go. And I also like that it's just a good space. Like, they have a public bathroom, they have a cafe, so it's just like...
Her gallery.
It's always good to know...
It's there.
Where you are from foils.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. Okay, next question. What are you currently reading? You brought it.
I did indeed. And it's one of the authors I mentioned. Yeah. I wish I had the dust jacket on me, but that's okay. This is a podcast. It's called The Garden Against Time by Olivia Lang. And how do I explain this? I wish I had the dust jacket, because that would have the little actual explanation. But it's essentially like during the pandemic, Olivia Lang bought this historic old manor that has this incredible garden. And then, so this is the story of her, like, spending that year figuring out what's in the garden, seeing what's coming up, seeing how things change and grow. Also interspersed with, like, cool stories of gardens generally, like the history of the allotment, and how, like, far back that goes, hundreds of years, kind of the social, like, currency of gardens. Just a lot of social commentary on, like, green spaces, especially as linked to the pandemic, because obviously so many folks didn't have access to green spaces, and, like, the mental health, like, statistics for people who did or didn't have yards or garden spaces, green spaces is so vast. So it's really cool. It was, like, kind of, I mean, I talked about how much I love Olivia Lang already, but it was, when I saw that she was putting this out, I was like, wow, I can't believe Olivia Lang wrote a book for me.
Yeah, it's made for you.
It seems targeted.
Yeah, and it also has, like, really pretty illustrations throughout.
Oh, that's nice.
I'm being very delicate with this because I've been pressing flowers in it.
Throughout the trip, we've been picking little things.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, smell that.
Wow, it still smells amazing.
Oh, incredible.
Hot damn. Hot diggity.
Hot diggity.
Hot diggity.
I'm also kind of always reading a new Mary Oliver collection.
Oh!
I love Mary Oliver. I feel like I dip in and out of her stuff a lot.
I have this incredible new friend. Her name is Ina. And she visited me when I came to the first truck, like at the first truck event, and then she came to the second truck event, and at the second truck event, she was like, "You didn't have Mary Oliver the first time," and I had Mary Oliver, but I had sold it before she came, and then thankfully I was able to restock for the second one, and so she was like really excited about the Mary Oliver, and I was like, I love when people are excited about Mary Oliver.
That's so
the
fun.
Best.
Yeah.
I also love the idea that every time if people keep visiting your truck, it'll be a little bit different every time, because you keep making new shelves.
Everyone's kind of excited about that.
Yeah.
Everyone loves that I'm curating it. They're like, you do a shelf for every event? I'm like, well, yeah.
Why wouldn't I?
It's freaking so fun.
Yeah.
Totally.
That's awesome.
Okay, so our final question for you is, what is your mashed potato book? And, like, I copied and pasted these questions to Kayley, because we just have the same questions for every guest. And it had the definition of mashed potato book.
As if I haven't written it.
Do you think I'm an
Kayley
idiot?
was like, as if
12 times in
Kayley
Instagram
was like,
captions.
do you think I haven't explained this to people on Instagram over the last 4 years a dozen times? I'm like, okay, I copy pasted. You're right, you didn't need that. But yeah, so what, for people that are listening maybe for the first time, Raeleen, could you share what a mashed potato book is?
Yes, of course. So a mashed potato... I've also shared this a time or two. So
I feel like I've clipped it a few times. I've shared this a lot.
Yes, so a mashed potato book is something we coined way at the beginning of the podcast, and it has followed us all the way to this episode 251 or whatever it is now. And it's basically a concept of a book that you keep saving for the right moment, either because you're so excited for it or you're like maybe a little scared to read it. And so it's just a book that you generally just put off reading even though you think you're going to love it. And we called it mashed potato books because that's how I eat a plate of food. If there's mashed potatoes on it, I always save them for last because they're the most tasty.
Yeah, so that's it. It's perfect. So, what is your mashed Well, it can either be one that you just conquered and you're like, I finally read this one after meaning to for 8 years or whatever.
Nope.
Or it can be one that is become like stressful.
I have two.
Okay.
The first one is like stressful because I get asked about it almost every time I talk about books I'm excited about or like I explain what I like, etc. And it's The Overstory by Richard Powers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That actually makes sense to me. I would have expected you've read that.
Yeah. It's like I've even started it like once or twice. Okay. But I just never in the time where I could sit and like have my highlighter.
Yeah.
And like
that's
a perfect match. That's exactly.
Just, like, you know, if you want to read a thing that you know is going to be like life changing for you when you're in like a good mental health place, you just want all the pieces in place
together.
And they just haven't been there for me yet. But that's up there.
That is definitely up there. Yeah. What's the second one?
The second one is Mrs. Death.
Okay.
By Selena Goldar.
Okay.
I want to say it is something like that.
Okay.
And it's Mrs. Death, like the person, Mrs. Death. Mrs. like she's missing death.
Oh, okay.
Is that apologies. Let me clarify. Also stunning covers. Oh man. And it's another one that I've started and been like, oh no, I need to get the highlighter. Like again, I need to like sit down.
Yeah. Right. That's exactly the mashed potato problem. Yeah, hype it up to
that was me with Know My Name. I put it off for so long because I was like, I know this is going to be so much. Like, yeah.
And they're sitting like on. I have books on like kind of the top of my headboard thing, and they're sitting there just hovering over me as I sleep. But that one's kind of about. I can't even remember exactly what it's about. But the writing just was so me, and it's kind of meta, and it's sort of about Grenfell. You know, Grenfell in London was this housing building that burnt down, and it was like really underfunded. It had been like failed health inspections and safety inspections dozens of times, but like they just didn't prioritize it because it was a low-income housing building. And then a lot of people died, and that was like really close. I lived really close to Grenfell, so I like could see Grenfell, and so it's something that like really upsets me. And I just like I think it's a really cool take on it. And it's about death. The woman. Death is like a black woman. It's about her relationship with death.
So how long have you had both of those?
That came out, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago, and I've had it since it came out. I was anticipating it.
Yep.
And the Overstory, you know what? I think I actually heard about the Overstory through Lena.
Okay, yeah, because
Lena
she loves that.
Yeah,
she probably read
whenever she read it.
4-ish years ago.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah, so I've had both of them for ages.
Well, speaking of books we haven't read yet, let's do a book haul. Thank you for answering our questions. Now the people really know you as a reader.
Yeah. Have you ever watched Stephen Colbert? He does a test that's like, now you are known. And the questions are like, apples or oranges. Or like the best sandwich. Like
sandwiches are tough.
There's just like all of these very like specific questions, and at the end he goes, and now you are known.
You are known. I like that. Well, that's what we just accomplished here. So, Raeleen, you went book shopping.
I did.
We've been book shopping. We've been around the block. God damn it. And how many books do you have? You've got like 5.
I think I have another one, but I couldn't find it.
I also have 5. How many do you have?
I have 3. Well,
okay, not bad, everybody, not bad. Okay, Raeleen, how about you start us off with one?
Okay, sounds good.
What did you grab?
So I got The Guest by Emma Cline.
Yeah.
Because, I read her other book, The Girls, like a couple of months ago and really enjoyed it.
The Girls.
And I feel like as soon as I read it, I was like, I need her new book. I didn't even realize that it wasn't quite out yet back when I read that.
Did you read Daddy?
No, but I would read that too.
I didn't like Daddy, but I love The Girls.
Okay,
so I'm interested.
I feel like you and I have different tastes in books, so that's very intriguing.
Do.
So
yeah.
Okay.
I think Daddy's also short stories. So.
Okay. Sign me up.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
All right. I just realized Tove Jansson is the freaking theme of the day.
I noticed that.
I got Comet in Moominland.
Oh my gosh.
So, as you know, I read the first Moomin book, but this is considered the first Moomin book, but there's technically Moomin and the Great Flood, which is actually the first Moomin book, but it's now kind of a prequel.
Climate change, baby.
Yeah, it's basically a climate change book. So this one, it just says that in Comet in Moominland, forebodings about a star with a tail lead Moomin Troll and his friend Sniff on a quest to a mountain observatory. But the real adventure begins when they learn a comet is headed for Earth. I will read it. I don't know. I have no idea what I've signed up for.
It's beautiful.
But I just love Tove. I've decided I love Tove. I'm a Tove girly.
I love that.
Okay?
As you should.
Which leads to my next book, the summer book.
Yes.
Woo! 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 So,
Happy Pride.
I just got a notification that the camera feels hot. No kidding, Mr. Camera. Me too.
We all get hot.
I'll keep an eye on if that cuts out. But yeah, I got the summer book, speaking of heat, and as you know, we just read The True Deceiver, because Kat Dennis told us to, and it was unbelievable. Yeah, that was definitely a winter book. This is, you know what's hilarious? I've heard so much about this, don't know anything about it. I was just like, I want it.
Yeah, you don't need to know.
It says 22 crystalline vignettes. Brief novel tells the story of Sophia and her grandmother. So I'm down. Yeah. I think it sounds awesome. How about you? Give us two.
All right.
We'll go around in a couple circles.
So this is from
Bookmark in Halifax.
That's it.
I love that store.
So, all of these are actually
so good.
You
went crazy.
I
kind of blacked out. I normally don't buy that many books at once. Yeah. I normally just buy like one book at a time. But I just saw all these, and they're all Canadian authors. And I was just like, I'm going in.
Yeah.
So the first two are two poetry collections by Gasparo Press. Sorry, I immediately went to Ratatouille.
I defaulted to Ratatouille.
Yeah. So there are two different authors. So the first one is Farm Lot 23 by Tanya Laley, which is gorgeous.
Yeah, really. I love it.
And it's about the complex relationship we have with land, particularly as it relates to agriculture. And it's a poetry collection. So I'm really excited about that. Again, have I mentioned I like gardens?
Gasparo is a Nova Scotia press.
Love it.
And they do like letter pressing and everything.
I get that.
Everything they do is stunning.
Yeah. I didn't know it was Nova Scotia specifically. That's amazing. Because I've never seen it before. So
no, it's very local.
I was quite excited. And then the other one is Graphis Scripta / Writing Lichen. Poems. Lichen. We love Lichen in this house.
Lichen. I don't know anything about it, but I do love it.
Poems by Claire Goulette. And this is, she considers how things are and also are not what they seem, grounding her poems in the natural history of lichen, metaphors, biological analog. So,
sounds great.
It's like a field guide to lichen, but also just, I'm sure there's some metaphors in there. And I've been very into nature poetry. Mary Oliver, obviously, a fave of mine, and I always love more.
That sounds great. Huh. It's also really beautiful.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's nice.
All right, Ray, what did you get next?
Well, next, I almost didn't even see this one. I was like about to leave the store with my 2 books, and I was like, no, I'll just do one last look. And then I was like, finally, I found What You Are Looking For Is in the Library by Michiko Aoyama. This is the book I foreshadowed to earlier. So many people.
Have I seen it a lot.
Yes, a lot of people send this our way whenever they see it. They're like, oh, you need this for your cat collection. And so I have had my eye open for it for a while. I've just never found it. And Massey Books, of course, they always deliver. They always have exactly what I need, what I'm looking for. And so I found this. I honestly don't know what it's about other than a library and possibly a cat. But I bought it completely blind because so many people have recommended it, and I do feel like it works perfectly for my cat collection, regardless of what it's actually about.
Do you remember that I bought that one a couple weeks ago?
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I definitely hauled it on the pod, so maybe we should buddy read that one.
Let's definitely buddy read it. That'd be fun.
That would be a fun one.
Do you like with your cat books?
Yeah, bring it on.
This is the question coming as your social media person. Because a lot of people said a lot of cat books, but I think part of the joy of a specific kind of collection is coming across it organically. Do you feel that way?
I agree with that, because I'm not really, most of the time I'm not actively seeking cat books, especially at this point. I feel like I have pretty much all.
You.
Yeah, like I actually have a few that are kind of weird random ones that I found at other like little bookstores. Like I think, Ariel, you were with me one time when I found there was a specific cat section at this one bookstore, and they had like vintage cat books, and those are the ones I really gravitated towards. I was like, oh, there's this one called like Little White King, and it's just like about this little white cat, and I just love it, and it's like this weird old vintage copy, and so those are the ones I'm kind of like more looking for now, because it is obviously like a popular publishing thing now too. Like there are a lot of cat books, a lot of like Japanese cat books, and so like I feel like I don't need all of them. I just want like the special ones.
Yeah, that isn't to say stop sending us.
Yeah, like I was
just curious because sometimes I'm just like, I don't need to send her every cat book.
Also, I have a lot of them already, so to be fair, there's the time I already have those.
That's the thing too, is I don't want to send you that, and then you're like, yep,
I'm
got
like,
that one. I'm like, oh, sorry,
I did read that.
Despite listening to this podcast for 4 years, I don't know every book.
There's a lot of cat books. It's easy to forget.
Truly.
Keeping with the Tove theme, things went crazy, Raeleen.
Oh my god.
Because I got Tove Janssen's massive brick of a biography.
Of course you did.
I love lesbians.
Tove Janssen, Life Art Words, Bowl Weston. Yeah, that camera keeps blinking that it's overheating, so I'm just going to keep my fingers crossed.
He's hot.
But yeah, Philip Pullman on the back here says, Tove Jansson was a genius, a woman of profound wisdom and great artistry. Sir Terry Pratchett's on here. Ali Smith is on here. Everyone loves Tove. I get it.
So true.
And I love that the biographer who wrote this biography is from Stockholm University. And this was translated by Sylvester Mazzarella. Published by the University of Minnesota Press, but printed in Canada. I mean, everyone had a part to play in this one.
I've looked at this book so many times. I'm waiting for paperback, though.
So as we walked into Bookmark in Halifax, it was just there, and I was like, what? And Kayley was like, yeah, did you see? I was like, I picked it up, and she was like, wait for the paperback. I was like, I'm not waiting.
You're like, it may be years before I read this, but no, I'm not going to wait for that.
Everything about it is just so beautiful. Yeah. Did you say maybe I'll wait to read it when it's in paperback, but I'm buying the hardcover?
I was just saying it might be a few years before you get to it. That's all.
It's true.
Just being realistic.
No,
I also feel like it's the kind of thing I would listen to before reading.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. But I just couldn't. Look at I couldn't help it.
And pages too.
Everything
it
about
is a beautiful book. You wouldn't get those in a paperback.
No, it's just beautiful.
You would. You might.
Maybe.
You might get like French flaps with them on the inside.
That's true.
Dreaming for a French flap. All right, really. Yeah, show us one or two, if there's one or two that work together.
Oh wait, I only have 4.
Okay, do one.
I'll do one.
We Made a Garden by Marjorie Fish.
Yes, so I actually already own this. I collect this, God, I'm blanking on the name of them right now, but there's like a Penguin collection of like vintage garden books. And they're just different throughout time. Different authors have written about gardens, and they've compiled them into this really cool collection. But this edition is new, and I keep seeing it online.
It's so pretty.
It's unreal.
Yeah,
it's so pretty.
Yeah, it's so beautiful.
So I just wanted it, which is funny because I just said I'd wait for the paperback, and I do own the paperback of this. But
sometimes you have to
do crazy things.
Yeah. So the world really just comes at you. Look at that rock gardening. I love a rock garden. But yeah, Marjorie Fish is like a well-known garden author.
That's so cool. All right, Ray.
The final one.
Finish us off with your last one.
Yes. So this one, I've been actively looking for this book for a while and just haven't found it, so I was really happy to find it finally. Slouching Towards Bethlehem by Joan Didion.
Oh, amazing. Speaking of essays,
I was going to say, I think Joan Didion may become my favorite essayist once I actually read her, because she's like my mashed potato essayist right now.
We all have one.
Everybody has one of those. But I already have the White Album of hers, which, spoiler, is on my 24 and 24 TBR. So that is one that I'm like, I gotta read that this year.
Okay.
And so I'll definitely be reading that at some point. This one, we'll see. But I feel like I could see myself mashed potatoing this one, because I'm like, it's gonna be so good. Like, I just know. And so I might just save it for a little while. I don't know. I want the anticipation still. But I'm so happy. I also just love how this looks like a vintage book. Like the way that it's gorgeous. So pretty. So
it's perfect.
I'm very excited about that.
Okay, so the other two that I got, the first one is called Food School by Jade Armstrong. We were in a cafe that had a really cute little book section of like indie publishers, and it's a little graphic novel. It just looked really cool, so I decided to grab that one. But then the last book I'll mention is Moonbound by Robin Sloan, which we talked about, I think, last week or the week before. We just realized that this was coming out. Yeah. And oh my god, the main character is called Ariel. I don't know if I didn't remember that when I started reading the flap, but I was like, Robin, I think possibly you named this character after me. Maybe you forgot that you did that, but Robin, maybe it was me.
In his subconscious for sure.
It was subconsciously in there. So, yeah, I really don't understand what this book is about. I keep reading the synopsis and it keeps being very confusing. But it says, Ariel is a boy in a remote village under a wizard's rule.
Just like you.
Just like me.
Wizard boy.
Also... just a little boy.
Just a little boy.
And then this dust jacket, or the hardcover, is really cool. It's got stars and stuff on it.
That's nice.
All right, finish us off. What is your last book?
It is My Life with Trees by Gary Saunders. You know, I can only be who I am.
You are who you are.
I can only be that. This is, Gary, my pal, Gary, born in northeast Newfoundland to a family with deep roots in forestry, trapping, and guiding. His love for the natural world developed early and stayed with him throughout his life. So this is like a memoir tied into observations of trees.
Cool.
I love a tree.
Loves a tree.
Loves a garden, loves a tree. I spend a lot of time remembering why I'm doing what I'm doing in this life, which is trees and gardens and the natural world. I just realized
it's beautiful under the dust jacket.
It's got a tree on the inside. I didn't even realize it was a dust jacket because it's paperback.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a rare find.
Oh my gosh. This paper's also like, look at this.
Quality.
It's beautiful paper. Who published this? Oh, Gaspro.
Classic.
We
know
love
what they're doing.
Classic.
Let me tell you. All right, we are going to wrap up this episode, but Kayley Hyde really wants to talk about Heartstopper.
I do.
Which I really understand.
Not enough people in my life have both read Heartstopper and also watched the first 2 seasons of Heartstopper.
This is our problem, because I have now seen the 2 seasons of Heartstopper, because we watched the second season together. Raeleen has read all of Heartstopper.
And I've watched season 1, so I'm like halfway there. A little bit
You're almost there, Raeleen. But
so I guess this is opening up the DMs to Kayley.
God, please talk to me about my sons, Charlie and Nick.
Kaylee about Heartstopper in the DMs, but we are also going to go and record our mini podcast for Patreon, Movie Tub, where we talk about the books, or no, not the books, the movies and the shows we've been watching. So we will talk about Heartstopper over there. If you're a Heartstopper fan, wow, what a time to sign up for the Patreon.
What a time. You get to hear me cry.
Yeah. There'll be a lot of bawling. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching this episode and for supporting the Patreon by sharing, or the Patreon, or the merch, or just by listening. Thank you, Kayley Hyde, for being on our podcast. We have been wanting to get you on the podcast for like 4 years. Yeah. So the fact that we finally got you on is wonderful.
I hope it lived up.
It did. You really delivered on the garden content.
Yeah, I was going to say, the people will love the garden stuff.
That's really all I got.
They're going to love that.
Yeah, so feel free to send me pictures of your gardens.
Yeah, that also would be very good.
Yeah.
So before this camera dies from heat exhaustion,
much like us.
Yeah, very soon, we will talk to you guys next time.